Everybody must be on vacation. All right, let's get started. Welcome to another Zoom call. And just give everybody reminders. Go to the members page, the member site that was built for you. I change things almost weekly on there. Look at the new things. You can order labs on the member site. We've had a question asked, can a family member order labs on there? The answer is technically yes. It would be best if we did a case review with that family member and discussed what was going on with that family member so that maybe I could give some insight on what labs might be a good thing to add. But I mean, it was a very appropriate question somebody asked because we did a mycotox test, which tests for mold exposure in your body, what exposure you've had with mold. And the spouse of this person, since that person's came back positive, asked, can I do that test too? Well, you don't need to do a case review for that, obviously, because mold exposure is going to affect other people as well. So it's good to do that test. So, but other tests, it might be appropriate, and often is for that family member to do a case review with me too. We can discuss that person's case and how to manage them going forward. Some people are very astute at their own healthcare, and they've been to a lot of different functional doctors, and they don't need that. They just want to run a test maybe that they've already done with another healthcare provider at different time, but they don't want to go back there. So they want to run, let's say, another Cyrex test or just a CBC or complete metabolic panel or something like that. So you're fine to do that. For instance, I put a new blog post up, basic building blocks of a healthy immune system. I'm actually getting another certification I just got one in autoimmune disorders. I'm getting another one in functional immunology. So I'm taking that information and I'm creating videos and creating information for you guys. So I'm just so you know who I am just a person who was kind of addicted to constantly studying and digging and trying to figure new things out to help people. So I told you this before, but I believe when God sends me somebody, it comes with a responsibility of trying to figure out how to help them. That's part of what I feel like is my responsibility. So I will be sharing that information up with you. That's why I've created all the courses, and that's why I will continue to bug you guys to look at those courses, because I think knowledge is power. The more you learn about your body and how to take care of it, the more ammunition you have to fight against what the world is going to throw you. So use the courses, go to them and listen to them, study them, look at any new information we have coming up, use our blogs as much as possible too. Okay, some of the questions from last week that I failed to record the answer. Are you familiar with the contents of the book, Estrogen Matters? It was recommended to me, but wondered if you cover some of that information somewhere else. And my answer to that is I'm not familiar with that book, but I am going to get that. I just got back in town and I'm going to purchase that book and read it, and I will let you know what I think about it. I have no family history of cancer, but since I'm under 50 and have bilateral breast cancer, they suggest I do genetic testing. Is it information worth having or not? So the genetic testing that the oncology department is going to do is going to be for some very specific genes that can have tendencies to run in the family that can be a cause of cancer. Now, they can do some genes that we can't do. Now, there are genes that they will typically run when they do that study, and one are the BRCA genes. So this person says, I was always under the impression that even if they found the BRCA genes or other mutations, that should not really change my treatment decisions. Or would it be helpful to know if there are any other cancer-related genes lurking in my DNA? My answer to this is, if they're willing to run this test and your insurance is going to cover it, by all means, I'd say go for it. Yes, run the test. Now, when we also look at our genetic profile, we look at your BRCA genes too. Now, there are all your genes have a family of genes. So your BRCA genes are a family of genes. There's actually about around 100 different BRCA genes. Now, there's really only, when they do a test for you, when the oncologist does a test, they're really only looking at about 3 or 4 of the BRCA genes, because those have been tied to the most significant ones that can lead to an inability to fight cancer. So understand, your BRCA genes are tumor suppressor genes. There are numerous different families of tumor suppressor genes, like the BRCA genes, that if you have mutations / defects on those genes won't work as well. Well, why is that important? Because tumor suppressor genes turn on when a cell goes into rapid replication, and it turns on and it stimulates apoptosis of the cell. So it can turn on and stimulate cell death. So that's one way that God put in us to be able to fight against cancer. Because remember, we've said one of the struggles with cancer is that cancer is your own cells. Something gets inside the cell, damages the DNA, causes the DNA to go into rapid replication. What could it be? Could it be a toxin? Could be a mold toxin? Could be a pesticide? Could be an herbicide? Could be a heavy metal? Could be a bacteria? Could be a Lyme bacteria? Could be a fungus? Could be a virus. Something gets inside the cell and causes the cell to go into rapid replication, and then it replicates cells that are also equally dysfunctioning in a state of rapid replication. That's what cancer is. When that happens, you have lots of different tumor suppressor genes. Right now, there's known about 25 different families of tumor suppressor genes that will turn on and help cause that cell to go to die. It's an internal stimulation of in what's called an intrinsic apoptotic pathway that causes that cell to die. If you have defects in those genes, you can, have a more difficult time killing cancer, because then you're completely reliant on the external pathway, or the extrinsic apoptotic pathway, something killing the cell from the outside, your immune system killing the cell from the outside. That's what we're trying to do with the Rife machine, stimulate an immune response on the cell to kill the cell from the outside, stimulating an extrinsic apoptotic pathway. That's what we're trying to do with nutrition. That's what you're trying to do with dietary. That's what you're trying to do with everything else. You're trying to do with chemotherapy, stimulate that extrinsic pathway. Well, your body has this intrinsic pathway through the tumor suppressor genes. When we have defects on those genes, we have a more difficult time killing cancer through that pathway. It doesn't cause cancer. If you have a BRCA gene defect, it does not cause cancer. That's not what tumor suppressor genes do. So if you do get cancer, you'll have a more difficult time killing it simply because of that. But understand, there's even more widely studied than the BRCA genes are the P53 genes. There's the KRAS genes. There's tons of different gene families that I look at when I look at your genetics, and that's how I make different recommendations based upon that. But long story short, if they're willing to do that test for you, by all means, I'm all for testing. It's just a blood sample. Let them do it. I'm confused about the mixed messages about seed oils on the internet. They're either from the devil or they're wonderful, depending on what site you read. I noticed my dietary oil recommendations from Connor's Clinic were devoid of any seed or nut oils other than walnut oil. But when I've asked about sunflower oil, and Ted told me that it was okay to take it. Some people do say that the problem with those seed oils is how they're processed, not with the seed oils themselves. Others say they're generally unhealthy, or our guts weren't designed to handle them. There are a lot of mixed messages about seed oils. And so let's kind of talk about that. I'll try to be brief. So the camp that says seed oils are good for you is the camp that says that a mother oil or a parent oil is really what we were meant to eat. We were meant to eat parent oils, not EPA and DHA from cold water fish. So parent oils will break down to that, and will break down to other oils, other fats that you need in your body. And there's a lot of sense that, as I think about how we were created, I think there's a lot of sense to that camp. I don't think we were created and put in a garden that was close to cold water fish. And so, we were created initially to eat plants. Now, I'm not a vegan by any stretch of the imagination. I do think we should be eating meat for sure. And I think cold water fish is fantastic. And taking omega-3 fatty acids is just fine. But I don't think that every human being on the planet needs to go and start eating cold water fish and start taking omega-3 fatty acids. Goodness sakes, there's people groups that have lived, and they're even in blue zones that live well over 100 years old, and they've never touched omega-3 fatty acid in its pure fish oil form in their life. And so there's different cultures that do better because of genetic variations in that culture on different food groups. So I come from more Irish German background, and I think that that there's nothing wrong with me from that background and culture of not eating a lot of cold water fish, but eating some cold water fish. I personally don't take omega-3 fatty acid capsules. Again, I'm not a fan of you guys taking 100 different supplements either. So, do I eat cold water fish? Yes. Do I try to eat all line caught type fish, fresh, not processed, not from the ocean fish? Absolutely. Yes. I think it's good for you. There's a lot of benefits to it. But I also don't want to say that all seed oils are bad either. I'm not in that camp either. So I take a middle of the road pathway. It partly depends on your heritage. If you're more Norwegian, Swedish heritage, you will probably do really well on cold water fish, and they might actually do better for you getting omega-3 fatty acids. If you're more Mediterranean and Asian and culturally and more African culturally, you'll probably do better on seed oils. So you got to look at those things too. How they're processed is definitely an issue, though, too. If they're cold water, cold pressed, processed seed oils are going to be much better for you. Plus, if they're organic. So, one of the things that we might be having issues with seed oils is that they're sprayed. So they might be GMO. They're highly processed, and that's really what's wrong with, in my mind, what's really wrong with seed oils. Is coconut milk powder a good alternative if one is trying to avoid dairy? Yes, I think that would be a good alternative in your baking and such. Coconut milk powder would be good. On my labs, my fasting glucose is 75. Why would my hemoglobin A1C be 5.2 and my insulin be 2.8? Not lab high, but on the higher scale. Or is the hemoglobin A1C close to normal? Seems a bit high, but not sure. I have followed this test before. So you can change your blood glucose levels quite quickly compared to you being able to change your hemoglobin A1C levels. That's why really a better look at a person's a blood picture for diabetes is hemoglobin A1C, because you can get false low glucose levels, because a person with diabetes or hypoglycemia issues, or in that range where you're pre-diabetic, it can have a spike of glucose after they eat, and then it actually plummet down, so it's actually lower than normal. And they're not taking their blood glucose at a regular time each time with a 12-hour fast, they could get some kind of false good glucose levels, where actually their glucose on a 12-hour fast is ranging in the hundreds, but they're getting false glucose levels. Now, that's not what this person is asking, but I just made that point because hemoglobin A1C won't bounce up and down through the day. Hemoglobin A1C is a much better lab value to look at to monitor diabetes than fasting glucose is. The reason why I want you to look at fasting glucose is because it's easy to take, easy to do, easy to monitor at home, and easy to monitor, easy to prevent those problems that I just mentioned, because you're going to take it every morning, right when you wake up. You have a 12-hour fast already, so you're going to have some consistency of when you're taking it. You won't move your hemoglobin A1C or your insulin as fast. So as you've changed your diet and you're keeping your fasting glucose at below 80 on a fairly regular basis, the hemoglobin A1C and the insulin levels will follow. Understand the insulin levels are also a function of your pancreas and your cell membranes, as are your hemoglobin A1C. It takes time to heal those. So you just have to be patient with yourself. I sent labs to you. This is a different lab, so I know I have to take that into consideration, a different lab company that this person did. My vitamin D25 hydroxy is 127. So let's talk about that first. 127 on your deciliters per milliliter of your vitamin D levels. Now, most physicians will say, oh my gosh, that's really high, stop taking your vitamin D. No, I don't think so. So really, in my book, if you're a person with a cancer diagnosis, you really want your vitamin D levels, between 80 and 150. That would be good. So if it gets beyond 150 to, then it's time to back off on what you're taking supplement-wise. But I would say continue on, unless you're looking at a trend. Let's say 3 months ago, your vitamin D was 80 and you started to take, 10,000 IUs a day, and now it's at 127. If you continue to take 10,000 IUs a day, it could be at 177 in 3 more months. You might want to back off on it. So look at the trends. My calcium is 10.1, up from 9.6. Why is that significant? So calcium is another thing that you look at in your complete metabolic panel for a person with cancer, because calcium levels, along with alkaline phosphatase levels here, are an indication of bony metastasis. Well, this person already knows they have bony metastasis, and we're monitoring that. Their calcium level is up, their alkaline phosphatase is up, and this is a concern, and I've talked to this person about this already. But that's what you look at. So alkaline phosphatase is an enzyme made in the liver. It will be elevated if there's damage to the liver, can be elevated with cirrhosis of the liver. But another reason why it can be elevated is if there's metastasis to bone. So if there's metastasis to bone, a person's alkaline phosphatase will be up. So just when you look at one value like alkaline phosphatase, you can't say, oh, this person has bony metastasis. No, you have to look at multiple different things, but this is an indication. Well, this person knows they has bony metastasis because they had a CT scan showing that. Other thing that will happen when you have bony metastasis, you will have elevated calcium levels, because when cancer metastasizes to the bone, it's lytic, meaning that it attacks the bone and starts chewing it away and gobbling it up. So it'll spill calcium into the blood, raising your blood calcium. So it's a lytic lesion, it's decreasing bone density, it's eroding bone, and it's spilling calcium into the blood. My tumor markers also went up. I just started on mistletoe, now taking a new medication, and the oncologist is switching chemo pill, and we just started her on Oncobel Pro, which has been shown to be really good for this type of cancer. So we hope to see these numbers change. So this is how you try to manage yourself and manage your care, as you make different changes and you look at different values, and you're hoping and praying that those things change. I've been rereading my genetic summary that I had done a few years ago. And so this person has been a patient for 3, 4, 5 years, and we did a genetic workup back then. And at that time, we did not give. So now when we do a genetic workup, we give the full report. And now the full report, because it's more genes that we look at, I think when this person did their full report, the full report was probably like 90 pages. Now the full report is over 250 pages. Same font as before. That's just how many more genes we're looking at now. And then now we give a full report, plus I give a condensed report, or what is called a genetic summary report. So on the genetic summary report, we see I break down that full report into more bite-sized pieces and highlight the main genes that we want to look at. And then I also then give what's called an action step report. So the full report's about 170 or 250 pages. The genetic summary report's about 17, 18 pages. And then the genetic action step report is just about 3 pages. So that just gives you, here's your action steps. And a lot of people will just like, okay, just show me what to do. So, and that's all you really need to read. But you also have the ability, if you really want to nerd out on genetics, you can look at the full report. You could go over you have access to the Read Your Genes course. You can look at all the videos that I made on the Read Your Genes course. You can, dig into it even further if you want. You say it's important to know the big picture when talking about supplements. I'm currently very interested in knowing if I should add these 2 supplements to my regimen, Pro-SOD Catalase and Sulforozyme. So Pro-SOD Catalase is a PHP product that has SOD, that stands for superoxide dismutase, and catalase. So these are the 2 enzymes, superoxide dismutase, remember that ends in an ACE, catalase ends in an ACE. Anything that ends in an ACE like that is an enzyme. Those are enzymes that break down peroxynitrate issues. So peroxynitrate is a very strong oxidant that can cause cancer. So you can't go wrong taking SOD and catalase. I mean, that's not something. So remember I say, I don't want you on too many supplements because your liver has to detoxify them if you're taking too much stuff. Well, that's really what I'm talking about is like herbal things. We're going to take some other herbal product. Then if your body can't use that, you absorbed it, then your liver has to get rid of it. But when you're talking about enzymes, you can't really take too many enzymes. You just can't. Your body will use those. It'll break it down into proteins. You'll use it to make other enzymes if it doesn't need that enzymes. So you can't really overdose enzymes. It's not really possible. And then, so yes, you could take that. Now you were taking other things that had SOD and catalase in it, so it was just trying to keep you to a lesser amount of supplements. Sulforozyme is a product from US Enzymes. It's got sulforaphane. Sulforaphane is the main product in broccoli extracts that can help with estrogen dominance and help pull estrogens out and can be great for estrogen dominant cancers. Now, I believe you're taking other things to do the same thing, and you're taking other things that probably have that in it. And then because it's a US enzyme product, all US enzyme products also have at least Astrozyme, which is their patented enzyme, if not other enzymes as well. So you could take these. There's no negative about that. Said, I believe the SOD affects copper. Well, SOD really pulls out a peroxynitrate. So peroxynitrate is really broken down through the SOD and catalase. Oh, yes, I'm going to check out this site to see if you can get products from for your vacation. Yes, I'll do that. My oncologist is telling me that no one with cancer should be on N-acetylcysteine. What are your thoughts as to keep taking it or not? Also, you put me on Alcamel Pro twice a day after taking the evening dose. My kidneys hurt. I'm trying to drink a large glass of water with the tablet, and I'm not dehydrated. So I would, that can be an effect of this because this is a very strong, different type of herb that can be really good for your cancer. So make sure you're drinking. I would just keep doing that. That is the recommended dose. So I would not lower the dose on that. As far as this question of why the oncologists say no one should be on N-acetylcysteine, the only thing I can think of, I'm trying to get into his head and think of why he would say that. So N-acetylcysteine is a very strong antioxidant. Now, an oncologist is usually giving what? Chemotherapy. What is chemotherapy? An oxidizing agent. What is an oxidizing agent? A poison. What that mean? That's just what an oxidizing agent is. It's a poison. The truth is, we need oxidizing agents in our body. But the problem is we get way too many oxidizing agents. What do oxidizing agents in our body do? Remember, I've said over and over again that don't list things as good versus bad. I mean, things are good versus bad if they're out of balance, right? So God created us that we need oxidizing agents. What do oxidizing agents do? Oxidation in our body kills pathogens, period. That's what it does. Oxidation kills pathogens, helps our immune system kill pathogens. Oxidation also can help kill cells that are damaged too. So the idea of why do we give an oxidizing agent, aka a poison, to a person with chemotherapy or a person with cancer, calling it chemotherapy, is really because the idea is that cancer cells are going to be less stable than healthy cells, and they won't be as able to withstand a chemical poisoning. So if we poison this person, the cancer cells will die first. That's quite honestly, that is the truth. That is the simple explanation of chemotherapy. And I don't say that to knock it because it can be a huge blessing because lots of times it works exactly that way. So, but N-acetylcysteine is an antioxidant. N-acetylcysteine is an antioxidant. It works as an antioxidant itself. It helps form glutathione. It gives off the cysteine for glutathione reformation after glutathione is oxidized in the process of acting as an antioxidant. So glutathione is recharged and recycled inside the cell, and it needs cysteine to do that. And acetylcysteine really helps with that. So my thought is that an oncologist is saying no cancer patient really should be on any antioxidants. And what he's saying is that because I'm giving them chemotherapy, I don't want them taking antioxidants. So that's why he's saying it. At least that's why I think he's saying it, because there's any further sense in saying that. So again, what we tell people is if you're going to do chemotherapy, if you're doing chemotherapy infusions, don't take antioxidants for 24 hours, because that's really when chemotherapy is really actively killing cancer cells. If it's not killing, if beyond that, it's just damaging healthy cells. And you should be taking antioxidants to protect your healthy cells. Matter of fact, the number one reason why a person got cancer in the first place is because of a deficiency in antioxidants. Why do you say that? Because what's the number one cause of cancer? Remember what I said? Heavy metals, toxins, pesticides, mycotoxins, getting inside the cells and damaging the DNA of the cell. What are those things that I just mentioned? They're oxidizing agents. That's what they're doing. And they're actually oxidizing. That's the process of the damage. When I say damaging the DNA, it's an oxidative process. So if we all had more than adequate antioxidants every second of every day, the chance of us getting cancer, quite honestly, would diminish greatly. So to say that no cancer patient should be on antioxidants is like you're just cursing that person to not be able to fight off further cancers, not be able to fight off cancer stem cell circulating tumor cells that want to, raise a home in another place in your body, not being able to really win the battle that they're trying to win. So it's just ridiculous. So I would agree with the oncologist that a person with cancer should not take antioxidants for 48 hours after their IV infusion. But after that, you should load up on antioxidants, glutathione, alpha-lipoic acid, curcumin, vitamin C, all these great antioxidants that we are so, I wouldn't say we're deficient in antioxidants as a nation, as a people, as the human race. I would say that we are overabundant in oxidizing agents. So remember I said it's balance, right? We need some balance of oxidation taking place in our body. But the problem is we are so out of balance because our exposure to chemicals and heavy metals and poisons and, in our environment and toxins and, these chemical companies didn't exist 150 years ago. Now they're kicking out all this stuff and causing just damage, to our cells, and we don't even know it. So really important that we are taking antioxidant nutrition to help our body fight this. Okay, some questions that came in. I traveled with my Rife machine for the first time ever and breezed through TSA. No interest in even looking at it. One more praise report, Dr. Connors. The Clear Tox is really working on my tinnitus. Oh, fantastic. So this is the first time. So this is a brand new product for us, Clear Tox. It was designed to help detoxify mRNA vaccines. That's what it was designed to help detoxify, but it's really good for your blood vessels. We also have another product that's very similar. It has a lot of the same ingredients called Clear Circulation. That's really good for your blood vessels too. So I don't know if it's working on the pathway of actually pulling toxins out that's affecting your tympanic membrane or affecting the tympanic nerve, or pulling toxins out across the blood-brain barrier that's affecting the temporal lobe of the brain, because that all ties to tinnitus. Or it's just, remember I said that the inner ear has what are called terminal vessels that don't anastomatize. So you have anastomosing vessels most every place in your body, where you have two vessels that will feed the area, not just one. But in the heart and in the inner ear, you have what are called terminal vessels. So if you damage a vessel or one vessel is blocked, you're going to have like a mini stroke to the inner ear. And that's what a lot of the theories on tinnitus are. So working on those vessels, and some of the things that are in ClearTox actually do that. The nattokinase and the lumbrokinase especially can help open that up. So praise God, we'll have to share that with other people who have tinnitus. Why can lymphedema have a delayed onset? So the question really you need to ask is, what is causing the lymphedema? So lymphedema just means there's a block in the lymph vessel, and there's edema downstream or backstream from where the blockage is. That's what lymphedema is. So we got to look at cause. So if the delayed onset you're speaking of is I had lymph nodes removed, and then and I had no problems, and now I have lymphedema in my arm, and I had, let's say, lymph nodes in my left axillary area removed. I had no issues, and now a year later I have swelling in my left arm. How come that's delayed? Well, it's because if you had some of the lymph nodes, some of the vessels removed, what drains that arm, and you don't have any extra swelling then in that arm, you might not notice anything. But then you get a bug bite or something like that in that arm that's going to cause an inflammatory response. Now there's not enough lymph drainage in that arm, that you're exceeding the inflammation in the arm. You're exceeding the ability for that lymph to drain. So you're going to have to work on it. You're going to have to do some massage. You're going to have to do some cold packs. You're going to have to look and see what could be a cause of the increased inflammation, or the edema, another word for it, and see, okay, if you kind of go, well, I know what the lymph blockage is from. It's from the removal of the lymph nodes. Okay, well, we got that figured out. Now, what's the cause of the increased inflammation? It can't just be the heat. You'll be outside working in the garden, and, that's going to be a source of inflammation right there. So find the source of inflammation, and then work on some of the other techniques of getting some lymph flow going. I asked the seed oil question, but driving and losing signal, I will listen to the recording. But another point I'd like to hear your thoughts on, I just found a Mercola article on seed oils and nut oils, and his problem with them is the high linoleic acid content. Apparently, this is the new bad boy causing nearly every chronic illness. Have you heard of this? Yes, and I'd be careful of that. I'd be careful of the new bad boy causing every illness. And I like the way you phrase that, because I love Dr. Mercola. Actually, was going to have him on my podcast right before COVID hit. And then we ended up canceling it. And as much as I love him, he's like a sales genius in a way. But I have a real problem with all these nutritional people on Instagram, and Mercola, sends out a newsletter every day. And I just pray that I don't do that and like push things on people like, oh, here's the problem. Oh, here's the thing. You get to the point where these people are even contradicting themselves, and just to get likes, just to get followers, just to make money. It just bounces down to that. And if they have this, X amount of followers, then they can sell ads and blah, 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 blah. You just got to be careful of all that nonsense. I always just bring things back to, okay, how did God create us? Okay, he created us to eat whole foods. Let's do that as much as possible. And, there isn't necessarily bad boys and good boys. It's too much of things. Again, just imbalance. It's like, you don't eat any sugar because you're trying to keep your glucose levels down, but doesn't mean you can't have sugar once in a while. It's not like an evil curse, so God created all things for us to enjoy within balance. So just keep that in mind with that. Do you know Dr. Jack Kruse? And if so, I would love your thoughts on his teaching about the sun and mitochondria. I don't know. I do know of him, and somebody asked a question about him, I think last summer, and I looked up more things on him. I've never interviewed him on my podcast, I don't believe, but I don't know what he teaches about the sun and mitochondria. I do know that there was some information going around. Again, this is where you have to be so careful. There's so much not correct information going around social media. There's one guy who is a carpenter in my house. He's become a real good friend of mine. He's built some barns for me and stuff. He said, oh, you should never wear sunglasses because you need the sun to hit your eyes. And that's blah, 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 blah. And it's like, he doesn't listen. If I try to tell him anything, I just nodded and said, thank you. But that is so not true. You realize stimulation on your eyes with the sun, is that bad for you? No, it's not bad for you, but it does stimulate your sympathetics. That's the whole purpose of it, is to stimulate your sympathetics. Do I need more sympathetic stimulation? I don't know about you, but I need more parasympathetic stimulation. Talk about imbalance. I am way overly sympathetic stimulated. Okay? I deal with enough stress in my life. I don't need the sunlight, saying somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about with the nervous system, that everybody should not wear sunglasses. If you are overly sympathetic dominant, you should be wearing sunglasses, because that will block out some of the light and calm down your sympathetics. So just misinformation like that is just damaging to people. So and it just seems like so many people say these things that are kind of outlandish so that they can get more likes and more followers, and that bothers me. What is your opinion on using thymus peptide for the immune system and using carbon-60 as an antioxidant for free radicals? I think thymus extract is very good, and it's great, but again, yes, your T cells are made in your thymus, and if that's the reason why you have low lymphocytes, is because of damage to the thymus, especially if you have radiation to the thyroid gland or radiation in that area, then I think it's in order. I don't think everybody needs to take it, but I think there's nothing wrong with taking it. Using carbon-60, there's some articles on carbon-60 that came out that it's this wonder antioxidant that keeps you, it's the fountain of youth, that's what they called it and stuff. Again, way overselling stuff. So there's a lot of good antioxidants out there. This is one. It just, when I looked at it at that time, it was like very expensive. It's like, I'm not even going to sell that in my store, so I never carried it. It's just, to me, it was just way overpriced. Why is it not good to do vitamin C infusions while taking fenbendazole? Quite honestly, I've never heard that. So I don't know who's telling you that. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking, it's totally different pathways. Fenbendazole is not working on an oxidative pathway. So I don't think there's anything wrong with taking those two together, but I could be wrong. I had a bad case of COVID way back then, but way back when, but never got the vaccines. Okay, so you're the one that's taking the Cleartox. Yeah, that's good. You're still exposed to the mRNA by people that you know that were vaccinated, though, and you're exposed to it just by COVID. So it's still good to pull that out. If I were to take US enzyme sulfurazyme, which you stated earlier on this call today for estrogen, COMT on my genetic test, COMT defects on my genetic test, and dopamine, could I delete the AromaClear, which has DIM and for COMT dopamine, sulforaphane levels on genetic? I think honestly, I think the AromaClear is a better product, because it's got several things in it, where the sulfurazyme just got one thing in it, and the enzyme. So yeah, those are totally different supplements. I would say the AromaClear would be a better product for you. I've been taking a homeopathic product called T-Relief Arnica for arthritis pain in my wrists caused from the immunotherapy. So understand, my belief with homeopathy is that homeopathy can be fantastic. So we personally, as a family, use arnica for pain, homeopathic arnica, and you can also get arnica as an herb for pain as well. We use that for pain. My kids give that to my grandkids. That's a main thing that they have in their arsenal. We went on a family vacation a number of weeks ago, and my daughter-in-law had a homeopath for arnica, and her son hurt his ankle, and first thing they gave him was arnica for pain. It works well to relieve the pain. However, I just noticed one of the inactive ingredients is lactose. You don't have to worry about that. So I stopped taking it, as I know that no, don't worry about that. So you're not taking dairy because of the lactose. So the lactose is the sugar in dairy. There is not enough lactose in the homeopath of arnica to even register in your body. You're not taking dairy because of lactose. It's not the lactose in dairy that is the suggestion for you to not take dairy. So go back and use the arnica. That's just fine if it has lactose. So is the lactose the ingredients of the tablet same thing as dairy? No, it's not. So understand dairy has lactose in it, but that's not why I'm not having you do dairy, is because of the lactose. Other things have lactose. Lactose is just a sugar. So go back to take that. My alkaline phosphatase has been creeping up, was considered low at 28 to 30. And since I have started the hormone blockers, it's been up to 35 to 40, 45 the last 3 draws. I would suggest that it's because of the hormone, it's because of the drug itself. So the hormone blockers, remember, that's a drug, and your liver has to detoxify it, and it's just stressing your liver just a little bit. I wouldn't be concerned about levels like that, though. I'd say it's the drugs. Calcium is bounced around, so just keep an eye on it. You're looking for patterns. Is thymus extract different than the thymus peptide? Yes, so a peptide is different than a thymus extract. I am not a big fan of doing any peptides with cancer patients because there can be stimulus of growth with peptides. I would say stay away from that and go to a thymus extract. I know Biotics Research has a good thymus extract. That's a brand that I would trust for thymus extracts. You'd have to call the office to get that because we can't have it on the website. You had told Megan to tell me not to do the vitamin C infusions while getting rid of parasites with fenbendazole. But she told me to ask on the show why this is because she didn't know why. I think the only reason I told you, I don't know why. I don't think that what I was, if I said not to do the vitamin C infusions, it's not because you're doing the parasites with fenbendazole. Vitamin C infusions, maybe I thought when you were talking, when you asked her the question, that you were asking if vitamin C infusions were beneficial to do to clear parasites with the fenbendazole. And my answer, if that was how I thought of it, my answer would have been no. You don't need to do vitamin C infusions are not going to be something that wouldn't be even on the list of things that I would do to clear parasites. So my thought was that I think she just asked me, would vitamin C infusions be good to help with fenbendazole to clear parasites? My answer would be no. If you're taking vitamin C infusions for cancer, and then you're taking fenbendazole, there's no contraindication there. But I wouldn't do vitamin C infusions for parasites, nor would I do vitamin C infusions to help with fenbendazole's ability to help with parasites. I think they're completely independent, and I don't think that's going to, you wouldn't do it for that. So I misunderstood the question. That's why it's always good to schedule a time with me. So is Hista DAO just as good as histamine scavenger? They're completely different. So we have a product that's called Hista Clear. It is DAO enzyme, which is the enzyme which clears histamine, but it clears histamine wherever it's located. You don't absorb it. It's too large of an enzyme for you to be absorbed. So it really is primarily working in the gut itself. So you would take HistaClear or Hista DAO enzyme, other companies make it as well, to help decrease histamine in the gut. You don't take it to help remove histamine in the tissues. So you need other herbal products to remove histamine from the tissues. And our histamine scavenger, clear histamine scavenger, is a good one to do that. We also have natural clear hist, which is a different mix of combination of things to do that as well. You can look at the back of the histamine scavenger bottle on the website and see the different. The reason why I like that is it's got a lot of different nutrients in it that will deal with different pathways. A lot of products just have quercetin and a few other things that will pull out histamine. Histamine scavenger has a number of different things. So the histamine HistaClear or the DAO enzyme is completely different than a histamine scavenger or natural clear hist, and that the Hista DAO enzymes work primarily in the gut, do not get absorbed, do not pull out histamine from the tissues. Histamine scavenger, natural clear hist are absorbed. They pull out histamine from the tissues. But you said it was okay to take vitamin C supplement. Yes. Can I take Paraclear with fenbendazole? Yes, you can. Yep. Doing the same work. If you're taking fenbendazole for parasites, can you take Paraclear? Yes, it's working on. Fenbendazole is a medication to kill parasites. Paraclear is an herbal combination to kill parasites. You're doing the same thing. Do you need to do both? No, you could try one or the other. If you're taking fenbendazole for cancer, totally different thing. So when you're taking fenbendazole for cancer, you're not trying to kill parasites. You might kill parasites while doing it because it is going to work on parasites if you have parasites. So just so you understand, I'm taking for parasites. Okay, well, you can take Paraclear with it. Certainly can. There's nothing wrong with, you won't hurt yourself by doing that. And you won't hurt yourself by taking vitamin C with it either. I just don't, vitamin C really isn't the greatest parasite killer, but it's certainly IV vitamin C. Taking oral vitamin C could work in your gut a little bit more. IV vitamin C, I wouldn't use that for parasites. So, did you ever blog about tinnitus? You said you were going to. I no, not in the last week here. I didn't. The cancer reacted very well to vitamin C. Okay, that's good. Well, you can keep taking vitamin C with the RGC testing. Okay, there's nothing wrong with doing. There's nothing wrong with doing it. I just misunderstood the question. Is that you had to do that with that? My answer: no. They're totally different pathways. Okay, well, this one did get recorded, so I'll get it up. Apologize for that. Thank you all for participating. This was your first time. Hopefully you learned something and you can listen to it afterwards if you want to. We'll have it up this evening for sure. God bless all of you. Know I love you and I'm praying for all of you. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.